Yes.
Stop guessing,
March
Chandan.
and March.
March and April.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I keep saying March. Yes.
You want to make it earlier? That's fine. It will be nice and warm compared to the cold that I'm experiencing right now.
Oh, we'll do it in April.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, namaste. We are pleased to welcome all of you from the various parts of the world and different time zones from which you are zooming in. I am Shakira Mohammed from Trinidad and Tobago, a teacher for the past 17 years. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the 236th edition of our ICC Thought Leaders Forum. We wish to sincerely thank all of you who have contributed in the many ways that you do to the success of this ongoing Pan-Indo-Caribbean and Pan-Indian Diaspora Global Project. For 235 unbroken continuous weeks, we have been here every single Sunday. In the past 4 years and 6 months, we have featured 1,070 presenters from all parts of the world, speaking on 235 topics. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a weekly forum being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, a legally registered research and publishing company operating since 2010. In order to improve and continue this weekly program, we seek your suggestions and volunteerism. And we thank you for your donations, and each time you contribute, your name will be placed on our poster and promotional materials. And you can contact Dr. Kumar Mahabir for details. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now introduce our moderator today, who is Shalama Mohammed, the co-director of this ICC Zoom platform, who is a business teacher and researcher from Trinidad and Tobago. She obtained her master's degree in business psychology from Franklin University in the USA. Shalama, welcome. Thank you so much, Shakir. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Namaste. A very warm welcome to all of you from a nice, hot, sunny Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks so much for being here with us. This program is being recorded on Zoom and live streamed on the YouTube channel of the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center. Welcome to all of you on YouTube at this time. To avoid intrusions from trolls, our IT manager has muted everyone. Speakers, please do not admit anyone, do not unmute anyone, and do not allow anyone to share your screen. Thanks so much for cooperating. Today, we have part 27 of our live conversations with elders in the Indian diaspora. This series with elders from the Indian diaspora fosters intercultural understanding, showcasing the multifaceted identities within the diaspora and their impact on political, religious, and social spheres. By giving a voice to elders, this initiative not only honors their legacies, but also reinforces the importance of storytelling as a tool for cultural preservation, identity building, and community empowerment. These stories also bridge generational gaps, offering younger audiences an opportunity to connect with their heritage and learn from the wisdom of their predecessors. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our first elder, and this is Ikbal Heidel. He's 81 years old. He's from Trinidad. He's a former teacher and vice principal. He was recognized as the Muslim Youth of the Year by the Trinidad Muslim League in 1969. He was the founder and president of the UE Islamic Society, that is the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine, the UE Islamic Society in 1969, and the Ahmadiyya Youth Movement in 1970. So we're going to have a bit of an informal chat with Mr. Heidel.
There's so much more to him. And from time to time, I'm going to bring questions from his very lengthy CV. Welcome, Mr. Heidel. It's a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So you're 81 years old, and I want, please, if you can just share with our audience what you remember about your parents or your grandparents. You've been an educator for a long time. You are also a leader in the religious community, and you are an active commentator on political matters. And I wonder to what extent your family, your parents and your grandparents might have influenced that.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't know where to start, but let me start from the beginning. When I was born, actually, my mother and father, they normally would invite some of the poorer people to our homes. And, they would become part of the family. In my case, when I was born, there was I think, Madrasi woman, I don't know, but she was from an indigent servant. And she came, her name was Pope, we call her Pope. I don't know what her real Indian name is. So she brought me up as a baby because from the day I was born, she came and she lived with us for 18 years until she actually felt she got too old and could not do much more and left us. She went to a home for the poor. She didn't want us to do anything for her. Even when I go to see her, she would be shy about it. But from there, my mother and father have always been, this kind of person who reach out to other people. They've had other people afterwards. And I grew up in a family in which there was always this sharing and giving. My father and mother, father used to sew, my mother joined him and used to help. And there were 9 children. It was a family of 9. So we grew up as a family and very close. And my father worked at Point of Pear, but that was not sufficient for us to actually carry on the family life. So that's why he was sewing, and he taught quite a number of people to sew. But my grandfather, who was the Imam of the Prince Albert Street Mosque in San Fernando, was very close to us, and I grew up with him. And I used to attend Maktab, where he would actually teach us. And in fact, at one time asked me he taught me how to read namaz. And when I was at the age of 12 or 14, I can't remember which one, but it's around there, he asked me to read the Tarawih namaz in the mosque. And from then on, I've become accustomed doing it. And that is what has led me to being who I am. In fact, with my grandfather, he would have many functions to do, but he can speak Arabic and Urdu, but he could not write properly except his particular signature. And so I used to help him with some of the thoughts that he had to put it in writing. And that's why I've become probably a writer in many ways, doing different things. But actually, that's a short history of what my grandfather actually was my grandmother actually was the daughter of a well-known name in Trinidad very early. Oh gosh, I have it in the book. Syed Abdul Aziz, who came from Afghanistan. And my book on Khutbahs on the Quran is dedicated to him. He spoke many languages, and he was like, the chief spokesman in Trinidad as far as the Muslim community was concerned. He actually was Imam of the Ivy Village Mosque, which I put on my CV. I am now the Imam there, so I'm following in his tradition.
Excellent. And I'm so glad you brought up the Irie Village Mosque, because one of the key things about that particular location is that it was the very first place of worship for Muslims and it was built by the indentured immigrants. Is that correct?
That's quite correct.
So now that you are the Imam there, what can you tell us about the masjid? Is there any part of the building that has remained from the days of indentureship?
It's now concrete. Previously, I have a picture when it was wooden in structure, but it is now concrete. But the shape has remained the same at the front, more or less. The Jamaat has dwindled. It has now become pretty small, but it carries on, and it is a well-organized group, and we do have activities there.
Is it different? Because you said that the form is very much the same as what was there originally. Is it very different from any of the other masjids in Trinidad?
I wouldn't say so. Perhaps the other masjids took the form that was there.
Okay, and there were no artifacts or anything left?
Not as far as I know, but the history of the mosque has been written by one of our members, Dr. Isra Edwards, and she has done an article on it, given an account of the imams that has passed through and the history of the mosque.
Excellent. So we should probably speak with her.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah. So how do you feel though, going there to deliver your khutbah and whatever other activities that you do there? How do you feel walking in the footsteps of the indentured immigrants? Does it make a difference?
Well, I wouldn't say it makes a difference because I've grown up like that. As I told you, one thing I forgot, my the maid or Pope, as I call her, she would go to cinema every Thursday. In those days, of course, it was black and white and there were no subtitles. But she would take me with her. In fact, I would have to sit on her and she would demand that I go in free because she would carry me on her. And that's how I became so much involved in music and in, Indian films because I grew up inside of it. She was a very much, in fact, I should mention also, I don't see it anymore. She used to wear on her hand what is called, we call it a churi, a silver, it looks like a bracelet, but it was right up to the elbow and it can clip off. So I don't know if it was a mark of the caste system or what, but she always used to use that.
So
I
was she,
never was able to find out. I never asked her, but I know she always used it, and I've never seen anybody with it, anybody else with it.
Was she Hindu?
Most like she was. She was, but
So,
she never practiced any faith as far as I know. But she recognized us as Muslims, and she would do everything, you know. But she wouldn't go to mosque with us and so.
right,
But I think she was Hindu.
right. So you left South and
Yeah,
you moved to Felicity in Central Trinidad.
that's correct.
Both areas predominantly populated by persons of Indian descent.
Yeah.
But from what we know about Felicity, it is where the largest Diwali celebrations take place.
Yeah.
Are you involved in any way in those Diwali celebrations?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because I think I'm the only Muslim that has actually chaired a Diwali function. When they do have Diwali, I do have real ideas here because I don't make myself any different to the Hindu community. I should mention also, well, you asked me, but so I have mentioned it now. A week or two ago, they had a function in the Mandir, which is not very far from me. It's about 100 yards away. And I'm well acquainted with the Hindu people around. In fact, they know I'm a Muslim and they tell me Assalamu alaikum all the time. So I was invited to go there after they had their prayers, they had an evening of songs and music, and they asked me to participate, and I did.
Excellent. So how did you participate? Was it on the harmonica that I hear that you can do so well?
Yes, I did.
Oh, fantastic. So can we have some of that, please? Maybe at the end? Or
Okay,
would you like
all
to
right.
do so now?
Pardon me?
Would you like to do so now? The choice is yours.
Not really. We'll do it at the end of the program, the interview.
Okay, sure. So we have a question from Dr. Mahabir. He's wondering whether or not you participate in any way in Ram Leela, or what do you know about Ram Leela?
Okay. Ram Leela is celebrated here on the um, Pier Road ground. I have gone to Ram Leela celebration, but the last few years, Ram Leela has been very radiant where that mud is concerned and the amount of traffic that is there now.
Mhm.
At the age I am, I hardly go anymore, but I have been to Ram Leela celebrations and carry my grandkids also.
Oh, wonderful. So they enjoy it.
Yeah, they enjoy it.
Mhm. Let's talk a little bit about your days at UE. Now,
Uh-huh.
you were the founder of the UE Islamic Society,
Yeah,
and that was around 1969. Now, around that time, there were some interesting things happening politically in Trinidad and Tobago, which led to movements coming out of UE. And I'm referring here to the Black Power Revolution.
that's right.
How were you involved, or were you influenced at all by what was taking place in terms of your having started? You found a need for that UE Islamic Society. Was there any correlation?
Well, actually, when they did have the march from UE to Chaguanas, I was there. In fact, I have a picture. I was in the front row with Gaga and others. So we did participate. You see, the Islamic Society at that time was not separate from the university. In fact, it is after I started the Islamic Society that the Hindu Society, can't remember its name now, came into being. And that so I was part of that Black Power movement in the march that went from UE to Chaguanas.
Mhm. Do you feel what you all had intended to accomplish was accomplished?
Oh yes, it did accomplish many things. The theme of that march was Africans and Indians unite, and I think at UV we began to see a certain amount of camaraderie. I can't say I experienced any kind of racialism at UV. The students there were more intellectual and were more centered around learning. So we did not have, but we did have, I think, where the problems of started was not really with the Black Power movement. It was when some professor from, I think, Nova Scotia and Michina came, and there was some controversy, and there was a you know, a protest, and out of that came the um, what Daga and them had initiated. But that was the start of it.
Mhm. Okay. So tell me a little bit about the early members of this UE Islamic Society.
Oh, well, I was the first president, but first of all, I had gone to the principal to get a room where we can perform Jummah.
Mhm.
And that was accorded to us, and I used to carry on the Jummah, well, until I left UAE. Um, the secretary was uh, Nasira. I think that was her first name. I can't remember her. Ali. Yeah, Ali. And she did a wonderful job in helping me carrying out the Islamic Society. At first, there were few members, even when I left, but eventually I know it has grown extensively at UB.
Mhm. And you said that the Hindu society was formed after.
Yeah, that was in afterwards with Rambachan and Tiwari, if I recall.
Mhm.
Uh, not very long afterwards, but the initiative was taken for when we formed the Islamic Society, that there was that need for that Hindu presence also.
Mhm. So you having come from a background where your grandfather taught you different languages, I imagine, and you could speak Urdu, yes?
No, I can read Arabic, I can read the Urdu, but not because you see, our parents, our grandparents, and my parents didn't used to speak the language, and that's something we regret. I regret that. I mean, I picked up certain words. I know a few words like pugly and other things like that. But to say I can speak the language, no.
Mhm. How do you feel about UE, the institution, offering several foreign languages, including Mandarin Chinese, etc., but they don't really carry the languages of the indentured immigrants?
Well, I don't know if they do, but I know I had seen somebody doing a course in Arabic, but I don't know about Hindi. But that should be included because I think we live in a society. I live in a community where it's largely Hindus, you know. All around me are Hindus. And I live here and we have a very cordial relationship. And I think if we have to really progress, we have to learn to live with other people. I go to their, when I'm invited to their functions, their yagnas and things of that nature, I go, in fact, I'll give you a story. One day, my neighbor, who's very just at the back of my house, came one afternoon at 5 o'clock. They were having, I think, a 5 night session. And one evening he came and he said, Imam, the Pandit can't come today. You have to come and do the needful. And I went, I used their books and I explained to them, and nobody knew that I was a Hindu. But I participated and did exactly what the Pandit would do because I am well aware of what they do at these functions.
Mhm.
So they sang their songs and I gave the interpretation from their books, not from my book.
Mhm. Was it significantly different?
Not really, because I use the general theme that you will find in all religion, which is to bring about peace and how people should live a good life. And that's what we have to, kind of express more. We think too negative. We think too negatively. Like for instance, this morning someone called me and want to get my views on a question they're having what is called a shukrana, which I'm invited to speak.
Mhm.
But they want to have music. And somebody in the Muslim community told them, well, you can't have a shukrana with music. I am going to deal with that subject at that particular function because they have asked me to speak.
Mhm.
But the point is that music, when we recite Arabic, it is music in itself. So God has given us the vision and the voice to sing. And I have no objections to that.
Mhm. Wonderful. Are you going to sing for us now?
I can't sing. I can play the mouth organ, but I can't sing. I usually play a lot of the Western, the Old West music,
Mhm.
the Western cowboy music and others. I don't do much of Indian music because the chords in Indian music are sometimes so low that I can't pick it up on the mouth organ that I have. But
Mhm.
there's one I can do for you, which hopefully will come out all right.
Terrific. Let's have that.
Okay.
wonderful. I know we didn't get the whole thing, but that was an excellent effort. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So as an educator, is that something that you used to entertain your students?
You mean the harmonica? No,
Yes.
no, no. I only play it at home. I
Oh,
only play it at home.
mhm. So Shamisa pulled you out.
Well, actually, as I told you, I did at the Monday run, and uh, they heard me at the mosque because they asked me to do it. Harun knows that I play the Mautok, and someone told them,
Mhm.
and I was asked to do it. And since then, I have been getting quite a bit of invitations to do that.
Excellent. So let me ask you, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, and I want to invite members of the audience, those of you who would like to pose a question to Imam Iqbal Heidel, you can feel free to do so. Just raise your electronic hand, which you will find in the reactions button at the base of your screen. Just give me an indication that you'd like to ask a question, and I will invite you to do so. Yes, so Subhash Apana from Fiji picked up that you were trying to play Hey Apana Dil.
Oh, yes, that's what I was playing.
Excellent. So if it was terrible, he wouldn't figure that out. So he did. Nice. So Jay is asking, was religion taught in the school system? And I'm assuming Jay is asking when you were growing up, and you can probably talk about as well when you were an educator because you were also the vice principal of a school. So let's talk about religion and the school system in Trinidad.
Well, religion, you know, in the school system, government has allowed 1 hour at the time when I was there for religious instructions, and students will go into different. I'm talking. I didn't teach at the primary level. I only taught at the secondary level, so I can't say about the primary education. But at the secondary school, students will go into different classrooms, and you'll have different. The Hindus will come, the Muslims will come. I used to do most of the Muslim, but we had other people, and the Christians would come. So that is the method by which religion was in the school. But largely, the college in which I was St. George's College, which is, comes from the St. Georgian, the, the dragon killer, whatever it was, St. George the Great. And mostly it was Christian oriented. But I was able, in fact, I could tell you, I was able to introduce also in the school a bit of Indian music, where students were allowed to participate, and also started pan. Some people, because I love the pan. It's our culture, and I love the pan very much. Although I can't play it, but I love the music from the pan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very sweet music. Mr. Ramnaresh Dwarka has a question for you. Mr. Dwarka, welcome.
So
Thank you very much, Shalima. It's not a question, really. I'm really happy to see Mr. Heidel. You know, he lives walking distance from me, and we haven't seen each other for such a little while. You know, I was glad. There's a lot about him that I did not know that I learned from his presentation today. And I can attest to a lot of what he said. In this community of Felicity, we have other Muslim families, but you could hardly tell who is Muslim and who is Hindu. You know, they all participate in everything that we have. We invite each other, and this is a beautiful thing that we have here. You know, aside from what happens in other places and so on, hostility and so on, there's none of that here. So I just wanted to bolster what he was saying from actual experience. I know he has been a very ardent educator. He has been a very community-oriented person. And I know I could identify with a lot that he's saying. Thank you very much for having him on the program, Shalima.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So there you go, Mr. Heidel. Before you leave us, I want to have you just give me a few words about your comments on the newspaper. Now, I love to read your comments. It is half of a paragraph, if so much, but always so very meaningful. I have to stop. You stop me in my tracks sometimes. How do you sit down and compose these things?
Well, first of all, I have a wife who is very critical. So I learn a lot about what she says about politics and social issues, and then I assimilate it and put it in writing. I mean, I can write more than most people, so I'm able to do that. Uh, but a lot of it is because of me very much concerned about the social, religious, and political issues that go on in the country. And, you know, they say brevity is the soul of wit. So I know if I have a long article, it's very rarely going to be printed because there's so little space. So I try to make it as short as possible and bring about, you know, the points that I want to,
And you
to make.
certainly do. You certainly do. And I want to say thank you very much for sharing all that you have today. And I want to as well say thank you very much to Mrs. Ayuna Heidel for inspiring you in the way that she has.
She certainly has.
Yes. Wonderful. It's been our pleasure having you here, sir. Hi. Thank you very much, both of you. So stay with us, and I hope that you'll be benefiting as well from the 2 interviews that we have coming on shortly. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. Our conversation with Imam Ikbal Heidel, former school teacher, former vice principal, former or founder of the UAE Islamic Society, founder president of the Ahmadiyya Youth Movement, and so much more. We want to move on now to Suriname. Suriname is the South American country to which 35,000 Indians were indentured. They gained independence from Dutch colonial rule on November 25th, 1975. So last Monday marked the country's 49th Independence Day. And so we thought it was important to bring to you someone who was engaged in that governance process. And this is Mr. Ramin Sarjoe. He's 89 years old. He's a former vice president of Suriname, having served over the period 2005 to 2010. He's a member of the Progressive Reform Party, the VHP. He previously served as chairman of the National Assembly over the period 2001 to 2005. For the sake of convenience, we will show a recording of an interview with him that was done in August in Suriname. We were assisted in terms of translation from Suriname Hindi to English by Dr. Narinder Mokam Singh, our very good friend, an Indologist who teaches at the Anton de Com University in Suriname. So we'll have that interview for you now.
It's a pleasure for me to look back at the topics of my life. Important issue for me. I remember the time that my father said, "We have to go to Hindi less after the normal school." And I have had little knowledge about Hindi, and that gave me a perspective for my future. In the beginning, I was teacher at the primary school, at the secondary school, the high school. I've done history. And after that, I was interested in the youth. And that's why when I was 20 years, I was Hopman, leader of the Boy Scouts. And after that, I was member of the Navjuvak Hindustani Sabha, that this a society of young Hindustani people in 1960 I became chairman of the Hindustani New York Sabha. In 61 I had a ceremony at the occasion of the birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. On that occasion were present Mr. Lachman, the leader of the Hindustani party, and Mr. Krach, he was the Speaker of the Parliament, and Dr. Pandi, he was a lecturer, wetenschapper, scientist. After that, I became candidate of per Parliament, and in 93, exactly at 9 July 1964, I became member of the Parliament. And during the 10 times of election for the General Assembly, I became candidate and I was chosen. From 21 till 25, I was Speaker of the Parliament, and in 25, I was, because of the Constitution, was namely the oldest chosen member. I became extraordinary chairman, and I had then was in a position after became extraordinary member, extraordinary voorzitter, Speaker of the Parliament. I have installed the Parliament of 25 till 2010. After that, I was chosen also for the Prime Minister, for the Vice President of the government, 25 till 2010. And I had a policy during the time I was Speaker of the Parliament of Shanti, that means peace. It was a terrible time of the Nationale Partij Suriname, the party of Mr. Bouterse, in the opposition. And we formed a coalition with the VHP, the NPS, PSA, PSA, TA91. And in the case that it's going wrong in the parliament, I stopped the meeting and asked the leaders to come on my room. I had a special with the leaders of the parties in the parliament, searching for solutions, and I was lucky that always I found a solution, because I believe in the principle of Shanti. You can get more with Shanti than with war, and it was for me like graceful to have giving the leadership at the parliament without one point of trouble.
Sir, may I interrupt you? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Very interesting what you're telling about your philosophy of Shanti. So we are wondering, where did you get this idea from? Was it Mahatma Gandhi or some other people who inspired you to introduce this philosophy of Shanti in Suriname? Because before that, we know, like, we have your predecessor had this fraternity broederschap philosophy, introduced this verbroederingspolitiek of philosophy of fraternity, and you came with Shanti. So can you tell me something about the background of this philosophy, please?
The background of this idea, of this principle of Shanti, was firstly given to Mr. Jagardhan Lachman. He was for 50 years leader of the VHP. And I was with him a long time, from 61 till his death in 2001. More than 40 years. I was with him, and we had a good relationship with each other. And that is one. And the second point is, I believe in the Bhagavad Gita. Karmane varikaraste ma phale sukharachana. That's my point. Do your duty without looking for the fruit of your action.
So what I'm wondering, did Mahatma Gandhi play a role in this philosophy? Were you a little bit influenced by him too, or not?
I'm a lot influenced. For a great part, I'm influenced of the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita, that's okay, that's it.
And the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi was in the background because my leader, Mr. Lakshman, was more involved with Mahatma Gandhi and his teachings and his speeches. Often he had referred to the idea of Mahatma Gandhi. I was referring to the Bhagavad Gita. Another point I think good to mention is the point that when I was chosen as the vice president of Suriname, I had to lead a coalition of 8 political parties. And in the 5 years that I had the pleasure to give lead, I had no one law was passed when only one minister had problem with the concept. That means that in the 5 years, all the legislations are passed with acclamation.
Right, everybody.
Acclamation, everybody agreed.
Yeah, every minister has agreed. When there was some more than one time that there were conflicts. A minister had a problem. He will react. But in that case, I hold that point to speak with him. Only one minister and I, and we are speaking till we have a consensus. And then I put that on the agenda, and it was done, taken by acclamation with the whole cabinet. I think that during my leadership in the National Assembly and in the government, vice president, these are 2 points I'm self-proud of. And I had been voorzitter, chairman of the VHP for 10 years, 2001 until 2011. I became 75 in 2011. I thought it was time to give the lead of the party to a younger. And I have chosen therefore Mr. Shantuk. The 3rd of July 2011, in the Congress of the party, he became the chairman of the VHP, and have done the job on the right way. I'm very glad for.
May I ask, during that period while you were the president and so on, how were you able to maintain family life? You had consensus within the parliament and so on. Was all of that being done under the supervision of your family? Was your family happy with that situation? How were you maintaining your family life during that period? Was it difficult or was it easy for you?
Let me be clear on this point. It was very difficult to have enough attention for the children and time for my wife. My wife is the meaning that since I am out of the politics, that is for 14 years, the best time of our life.
Would you agree with her?
I agree, because I have also the time to be with her alone and do nice things.
So what would you spend your time doing?
Excuse me, let me go far, because I'm afraid I will go to another line.
Okay.
Hold your point. In Suriname, since 1956, I was a leader of the Boy Scouts. From 96, I was a chairman of the Hindustani Naujuvak Sabha. From 9 July 1964, I was member of the parliament. From 2001 till 2005, I was member of chairman of the parliament. From 2005 till 2010, I was vice president. From 2001 till 2011, I was chairman of the VHP. These are the main points. I have been for 34 years member of the parliament, chosen by 10 general election. And but my duty I have seen in the period of January January 2011. No. No. The our independence was in 75, and in 1975 and in 1980 was the military coup. And in 1 year later, at the 1980, in the January of 1981, was the first meeting with the military power. And during 7 years, I was with Mr. Lashman and Dr. Alvin Mungra. We are three of the VHP. We was in gesprek, talking with the military power till 1987. Therefore, we had made a point in 23 of November in 1985, a political document for holding the general election within 27 months. And in that period, we have made our constitution, and therefore I had little support. I've given a little support for formalization, the constitution that was accepted by the whole people in November, and in September, was in charge in October 1, and the first general election was held November 25 of 1987. And that means the restoration of the democracy and the rule of law. My opinion is in the period of 7 years, I have done a good job. But those are the topics in Suriname. I will go abroad. Okay.
Okay.
In
So may I ask, before you go abroad, let's come back to the Constitution.
okay.
Let's reflect on Suriname today.
Okay.
Are there any changes that you would make to the Constitution based on what is happening in Suriname today?
Let me be clear. I myself have do not made changes, but the VHP, I was secretary of Mr. Lashman, and he has confidence in me. That's why there was a good relationship between Mr. Lashman and I. He was the thinker, I was the writer, and there were two powers. There was a power named the Top Beraad, and the members of the Top Beraad were the delegation of the military power, a delegation of 3 political parties, the VHP, the NPS, and the KPP, and they had the 3 parties nominated me to be the representative. And the power of the vakbeweging, the labor, and what is ondernemers?
Entrepreneur.
And the entrepreneur. So there were 4 powers delegated to make the headlines of the Constitution of 1986. And that was constituted of 4 members, There were representatives of the military, the representative of the labor, representative of the entrepreneur, and I myself as representative of the three political parties. Okay, we had made a general point, and because exercising that point was held, was concepted the constitution, and after de constitutie was aangenomen met de, hoe heet dat?
Consensus.
Met,
Majority.
nee,
Acclamation.
nee. The whole people had spoken.
Whole people.
Okay, and that was accepted because we were joining the concept of the constitution, because the political parties had the majority in the people, you know, because that's why we made the constitution, because the constitution was held the general election and made a new government and restore the peace and the rule of law. That's the point. But your point was?
I'm trying to figure out if there are any elements of the Constitution that you would change based on what is happening today in this
The
nation.
main point was to hold a general election. That was the point. Because there were other concepts. The half of the members must be nominated with the labor and with the military power and that kinds of arrangements. But our point was, we are agreeing when all the peoples of the parliament are chosen. That was a big point by consisting the constitution. Other ask questions?
Sure. I want to ask you, there is a debate that is taking place among Indians in the diaspora, right? And this is specific to indentureship. So there are a lot of Indians in the diaspora who feel that we who are children of the indentures benefited by leaving India. And then there is another group who thinks that we should really have gone back to India. We might have been better off in India. As someone who came from indentured family, what is your view on that?
Let me try to answer. There were 34,000 people who came from India to Suriname. From the 35, there were 12,000 people who returned to India. That means that the rest of the people had firmly chosen to Suriname. And the Indians now in Suriname are the children of those. That's why the Indians now in Suriname have chosen Suriname as a nation. Never you will see that one Indian will go back to India. They all will stay in Suriname. Suriname, there is in Hindi, Janani Janma Bhumisya Swargatapi Gariyasi. That means my mother and the land where I am born are for me better than the heaven. That means that is the philosophy of the Indians. We are born here, we will live here, we will make this nation as a good nation where we can be happy. Answer? No question? I can go abroad?
You want to talk in your- Please.
Okay. Nathan. 2005, yeah, 2005. I was vice president. A month earlier, elected as vice president, and there was a meeting of the CARICOM, of the CARI Forum. There is a verschil.
Difference.
There is a difference. I have to make it short.
No, we are telling, we have another 15 minutes kwartier. Dan gaan we afronden en vertrekken. Zo. Een kwartier met, als je nog iets wilt zeggen, is belangrijk.
I have taken, I was in the meeting of the CARI Forum, that means the heads of states of the CARICOM, and the president of Cuba, Fidel Castro. And we had signed there an agreement. I've probably the science of the, probably or not, can see there. Another point to remember is that I had the pleasure to address the United Nations. And I met Mr. Obama and his wife. Another point to remember is I have had a meeting with the CARICOM leader, with Mr. Bush in Washington. And the point was the Caribbean Basin. I had the pleasure to be the co-president of the ECP EU. I do not know if you are aware, ECP, the members, the countries of Africa, the countries of Caribbean, the countries of the Pacific, 78 countries. And I was for 6 years vice president, and for 2 years as co-president of the ECP and co-president of the ECP EU. In that setting, I have made a fact-finding mission to Rwanda and Burundi in the case of the genocide of 1994 in Rwanda. Make a report, and the report was on the agenda in Namibia in 1996. I have addressed as co-president the Joint Assembly of the ECP EU in Ethiopia in 1984, and I have addressed the general meeting of the in The Hague, 94. I've made a fact-finding mission in the border conflict with Eritrea and Ethiopia, and we have gone there with the delegation of the ECP EU. The co-president of the EU was Madam Koenig, and of the ECP was I person.
So during all of those conversations, did you ever have to discuss the expulsion of the Indians from Uganda and the Idi Amin?
Not Idi Amin. I was in the case of the genocide.
The genocide.
The genocide in
Rwanda.
1945 in Rwanda. That was the point.
But what were your thoughts about that expulsion of the Indians from Uganda?
The Indians were not exactly a matter. You know, we have to look at the whole of the situation. There made a report. I have a report. In the case you are interested, I will give you the report I have made as a result of the fact-finding mission in Rwanda and Burundi. I think, and I had the pleasure to address the meeting in New Delhi at the occasion of the 50 sworn, the Golden Jubilee of the Parliament of India.
Yes.
I have the pleasure to address the meeting, this international meeting. Members of the whole world were there. And in 2009, I had the pleasure to be the main guest of the Indian meeting in Chennai. And I had received an award of the President of India, Patel. And I had the pleasure to start with Manmohan Singh, the meeting, with Make a Light.
Right, agree.
Yeah, I think that, and I had the pleasure also to address the diaspora of the CARICOM in Washington at the occasion of the meeting of with Mr. Bush on the Caribbean Basin. So I think I have done some
Good work.
good work for my country
I agree.
and at the national level, and did this in half an hour. It is impossible. That's why I ask you, what is the time you have for me?
Yes, we understand, sir. It's very difficult. And they are just for a few days here. So we will wind up now. If you have 5 minutes, then say, we have 5 minutes. So final words to the Indian community who are listening to you all over the world about your presidency.
And 2019, when I was in Chennai on the meeting of all the Indians of the whole world delegations. At that time, there were 25 million Indians abroad India. The philosophy of India is Satyameva Jayate. The Satyameva Jayate, please help me.
Truth prevails. Truth always prevails.
Truth win always, in any case. And There is an idea, philosophy of India. And this idea is globally accepted. And all the holy books of the Quran, the Bible, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, be truth, I will succeed. That is the message of the Hindustani to the whole world.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our interview with former Vice President of Suriname, Ramin Sarjoe. Jay, I'm going to allow you to raise your hand, but please be mindful that we just can take a comment because unfortunately, former VP is not with us live in the audience today. We really would have liked to have him live, but unfortunately, he didn't have the capacity to set himself up on the Zoom. So please go ahead, make your comment. Thank you.
I just want to make this comment comparing to my brother's life. He has fulfilled a national and an international perspective to his life in politics, in social life, in education. And it's so, in my days of struggle, his name didn't come up, even when I worked with labor here in CARICOM and all that. He was somebody, I think, in my view, a person who works in the background and gives his sort of work, not wanting accolades. I think I admire him for that, and I thank him for that. And this can be in the books about the Rwanda situation. It's ironic that he never touched South Africa, because South Africa, we had, catastrophe upon catastrophe, killing of the Black people, but they didn't come, even with the African group. I stand to be corrected that there may be some of our ANC people or Indian Congress people might have been attending those conferences, and which he didn't mention, because we were also around the world, going into different sections around the world, trying to solicit support for our struggle in South Africa. So he might have come across somebody. And the other comment I want to make is, it's ironic that he didn't follow Mahatma Gandhi or the Satyagraha movement and all, and yet he pursued peace, Shanti. And peace was the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi, non-violent approach to the struggle. And I would like to sit and chat with him at length if he has the time. It was so alive for me.
Yeah. So Jay,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. This is one of the reasons why we would like to invite you to join us on our next tour, which will be in Guyana, and Suriname is just a drive across. It's
When
not
is that?
far. And we'll be having this tour of Guyana coming up in April next year.
Okay, touch wood, if my health is okay, I'm going on a sort of a vacation this 2 weeks' time with my daughter. But I hope I'm strong enough to travel alone, whether they will allow me to travel.
Oh, ask her to join you. We'd welcome
No,
her
she wouldn't come that way. She wouldn't come that way. She wants to go to a resort and just chill.
We have all that. Don't worry. We'll see what we can arrange. Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have another speaker coming from Suriname, and this is Mr. Narad Gangaram Pandi. He's 82 years old. He was born in 1942 in the largest family, the largest Indian family in Suriname, and quite possibly in the Caribbean. He studied Indology at the University of Utrecht in the Netherlands. He authored 2 religious books and performed several pujas, but only in mandirs in Suriname. Again, for the sake of convenience, we are going to show you a recording of that interview with him, which again was done in August. And our assistant translator from Sarnami Hindi to English was Dr. Narinder Mokam Singh, another Indologist who teaches at the Antandikam University in Suriname. Shakira, can we have that, please? Indologist, probably the first one in this country.
Well, my name is Narad Gangaram Pandi. I'm born on 4th January 1943 in the state of Suriname, Novinomit Quata. That's where my Gauri system is. There, my grandparents and grandfathers, family Burmatavari. There, my born birth, I bring my life, boyhood, youth, childhood, to Saramaka Pratashe Dankbarheid on the right side, right bank of the Saramaka River. There we have now a way named Gangaram Pandi. It's named on my grandfather. And after visiting the primary school, we know Upabara School, La Prévoyance, till 5 o'clock. Then I came to Paramaribo for further study. I visited the Juliana School. At that moment was the best primary school in Suriname. I visited for 2 years, Juliana School. After that, I visited the Atikalo School, Milo School for 3 years. And after that, the Quick School Day for teachers training, 3 years. And in 1962, I was a teacher. Till now, I am a teacher.
So what were you teaching?
On the schools, like primary school and also middle school, secondary schools. And after that, I visited Holland for study. I studied bookkeeping, accountancy, and after that, then Indology.
So Indology is very different from bookkeeping, double entry system of accounting.
Yes, it's
and
very
so on.
different.
Very.
Too many subjects.
Yeah.
But I studied in Utrecht, State University at Utrecht.
So what motivated you to move from accounting and so on into Indology?
I was a teacher, and they need here accountancy for studying trade subjects. And that is why I was in my interest in that subject. Also in geography, but you have to choose. Because I study some years bookkeeping, accountancy, also economy and bedrijfseconomy.
Economics.
Economic, yes.
Yes.
After that, then I visited the university for Indology.
So would you say that you were influenced to your interest in Indology was as a result of your Hindustani background here, your Aja, your Aji, and the things that they did, or was it because of your life in Holland?
Yes. Our family, Gangaram Pandi, is a cultural and religious family. From youth, we have interest in culture and in Indology and in religion. And that was a spirit for me to study, do this, because if you are in Holland and you have the chance to study that, then you do that. And I think I am the first Suriname, the first Hindustani from Suriname to do the study in Indology.
So having acquired the degree and so on in Indology, how long after did you return to Suriname?
I studied there. After that, I was working during my study, I was student assistant at the University in Utrecht because I was a native speaker. Main subject there is Sanskrit and cultural history, old history, and a modern language. The most choose Hindi, but you can choose also Bengali, or Tamil. And I was a native speaker for Hindi. That's why I was student assistant at the University of Utrecht. And after studying, I was 2 years at the University of Amsterdam. There was also Indology. And after 2 years, I came to Suriname in 1978.
But if you had these student internships in Indology and you were in demand there, why did you return to Suriname?
Suriname is my country. I grew here up, and it's a very nice country.
You were missing home?
No, I can just live there also, but climate in Holland, way of living in Holland, Suriname is very high, very nice. Also, I visit Tobago. I visit Tobago, very nice country, Tobago, and Suriname also. And I will not choose Holland, not India, not America, but Suriname is very nice country. Only one thing, one problem, political culture.
The political culture is a
Yes,
problem.
that.
Yes,
Not only in Suriname,
everywhere.
elder also.
Yes, I agree. Yes. So when you returned here as an Indologist, was it easy for you to be able to get a job, or was it easy for you to be able to teach?
No,
What were you doing?
there is no job in Indology in Suriname, not by the government. When I came to was the program of alphabetizing and to learn people read Dutch.
To read and write?
Yes.
Yeah, because we have here 15 languages.
15.
15 languages in Suriname, mother tongues. But the official tongue, official language is Dutch. And only in Paramaribo and Wanica, and so these people can speak a very nice way Dutch. But we in the country not. I was in Dankbaret. There was no Freiburg class. 4 years.
Primary school.
Not if you are 6 years old, then you can go to the primary school. At home, we speak Hindi. At school, that's big problem. Language barrier. What to do? No books at home to read. No radio, no television, nothing.
Right.
At home, Hindi. At school, Dutch.
Right.
That was a great problem for us. Not only for us, for me, all the children in the country.
Yes.
It's a big problem
Yes.
with Dutch.
Yes.
And when I came to Paramaribo, Juliana School, you see Martin, the difference between speaking in the country and speaking in the Paramaribo. Matter. It cost me very, very inspiring. Energy, much energy I study Dutch.
Yeah.
That's a big problem for us. Yeah.
So you had a lot of difficulties.
Yeah, a lot of difficulties to learn from
Dutch.
mother tongue to Dutch.
Okay.
Yeah. There is no books of school. No, I had to scribble with the layer scribble. So on blackboard, you have no books. You have to
Make it up.
Memory it. Yes.
Yes.
That's big problem, big problems.
Yeah.
And to La Proviance, we have to make a testimonium to go to the secondary school, Milo school. Tuts. There is no tuts there. They have to come to
There were
Paramaribo
exams to go
to visit the
further
secondary.
the secondary.
No chess, right?
Milo school, yes.
Chess.
Yeah. And to live in Paramaribo by family. I was by an uncle for me to live there and visit the school. There was no facilities for students or children from the country in Paramaribo. All by family.
Okay. So, how were you able to, all of your knowledge in Indology,
Yeah.
what were you doing with it when you returned?
Private, only private, not by government, nothing by government.
Yeah.
Private only. I give lessons to a Roman Catholic They have training
Uh-huh.
also for Hindu, also for Muslim. There's maybe about 17 years I had there for Hinduism to learn advance, etc. Also at nursery Kufa to uh, contact the patients in the hospital.
Yeah.
Then we learn them to teach them daily works,
Right.
feeding, etc., and daily works to learn the nurseries, the nurses, etc., to contact the people, Hindustani people from district in the hospital in a very easy way. And also give class to the IOL teachers training.
institute.
Teachers training
Yeah,
college.
teachers.
Yeah.
Did you at one time do translation work for the government or
Yes, I was also
interpreter
translated at the at
the court?
courts. Yes, translated where Hindustani of the come to translate by the judge, and we know it. What is it? Yeah, नहीं पता तो वैसे तो नहीं ग्रास हुआ था फरतालर
Translator,
Translator.
interpreter. So
translated for Hindi, Dutch Hindi.
okay.
So may I ask, what were some of the issues that the Hindustanis would come to the court to deal with?
Oh, several problems, several problems. Several problems.
Right, so it would have been broad, but was there anything that you could zero in on that was specific or most predominant among the Hindustanis
For on the court.
in the court?
What fill you up?
Yeah, no, yeah, different things on several subjects.
House, domestic issues, business issues.
Family problems also,
Lots
family
of family
problems,
problems.
ethical problems, and also crime.
Crime,
Also crime, yes.
yes. Were they more the victims or the perpetrators of crime?
Oh, and also victims. Tolak,
Interpreter.
Vertaler, interpreter, translator, tolak.
He did a work of what they call tolak, but that's an interpreter at the court. You
Yeah.
have to
Translate from Hindi to Dutch
directly
on the court, yeah.
simultaneously. Yeah.
Need for many back.
Yes. So, okay. So, in your family, you returned, you were the Indologist. How were you able to, or were you able to teach your family anything new about Hinduism or
Indian culture.
Hindu mythology?
Well, I was beginning with Institute for Hindu Culture, but there was no interest.
You started institute.
I started, yes, the Institute for Hindu Culture. After 5, 6 years, 7 years, I stopped because there was no interest.
Yeah.
Not even family members.
Family members or no interest. Then you have to stop.
What were you trying to accomplish with this institute?
No, nothing, not more. If there is no interest, they have to stop.
But for 5 years that it was in existence, what were some of the activities at this institute?
The most well student Hindi primary, secondary, third, no? Prathama, Madhyamata, Hindi, and the books were from India, Wardha or from Madras, yeah? For first exam, second exam, third exam.
So there was no interest for what you learned, Sanskrit and philosophy.
No interest by Hindus, no interest, because there is no economically doing nothing.
Oh, I see.
What economy, paisa and money is first in the first place for the living, for the life. You have to have an economic profession and income to live, etc. And the interest for culture, for religion is on low basis.
Yes.
Low basis.
Yes. So most Hindustanis were more interested in getting ahead in Suriname or getting ahead so that they could leave and go to Holland? Which one?
What were they getting?
Most Hindustani,
Yes.
do you feel were interested in getting ahead in Suriname, improving their condition in Suriname, or improving their condition so that they could leave and go to Holland? Which one?
Betul persis.
Mana ke mana yan Suriname ke mana kunci करे मांगतरा पैसा कमाए के यहाँ अपन जिंदगी बसावे कि पैसा बनाए के हॉलैंड भागे.
At the first place is for study. Suriname was a colony of Dutch. Just for study, we have to go to Dutch in the first place. Many will get to United States also, but for study, Dutch. After the third level study here, then you have to visit the university, and that was Holland. The most students go to Holland for study, and after study, they have to this they will come back or they will stay in Holland or from Holland other countries. But the main aim to go in Holland was to study.
Okay. Were there any advantages for you as a Hindustani
Yes.
coming from Suriname? Were there any advantages for you in Holland?
Wat voor voordelen zou je hebben als je naar Nederland zou gaan?
No, I was a teacher. Yes, I was working as teacher at the school in Utrecht. I was teaching.
Right.
He was teaching there.
I was teaching also what you have to have income. Then I was teaching also
Right.
on the
But what I'm trying to figure out is, coming from Suriname, coming from the colony,
yes.
do you get any reduction in fees? Do you get any special housing? Do you get any special compensation? Do you get any special
No, when-
advantages?
When you are
Yes,
working
in
there,
the Netherlands.
you come in a scale, and your salary is along the scale. When you are teacher there, then they have a scale for the teacher, the salary, yeah, to ontvang, get the scale,
it's
the
the
salary.
same.
This
It's on
this
par.
the same
Yeah.
from Holland, yes.
Just
Here we have another salary. There, another salary. When you go there, you are working, you get the money from there.
if I may say, there were no special privileges.
No
There were
special.
no special privileges
No,
for
no.
people from Suriname.
No.
If you had your diploma capabilities, then you
We had
scaled
Dutch nationality. We were Dutch nationality. So
So
you
you
know,
had to pay
Suriname
the
man
same-
or in Dutch, you have Dutch nationality. Just the
treated
same.
like a Dutch.
You had to pay the same fees as people born in Holland.
Yes.
Yes.
Just the same.
No difference.
Just the same.
Okay.
There's no difference if you are from Suriname or you're from Holland. We have both Dutch nationality.
All right.
The same scale, the same, not privilege.
Okay. So let's talk about your life in Holland. Here you are Hindustani, you have Hindu culture, Hindu background, Hindu religion. When you reached in Holland, what year did you arrive in Holland?
Holland कौन चल रहा था?
No, in 67.
1967.
67.
Mhm. Did you feel comfortable? Was there an opportunity for you to be able to go, for example, to Mandir or to participate?
There was no mandir in Holland. There was no mandir, and very few Hindustanis were there. Very few Hindustani. After the independence problem here in Suriname, 1975, from 1973, 1974, so much Hindustanis and Japanese and Creoles go to Holland because independence was in 1975. So then over Hindustanis, sorry, Suriname come in Holland. They're very big problem, big family. Then they begin in a house, a mandir for puja, for to come together.
So how did you manage from 1967 until then? How did you manage? What did you do by way of upkeeping your religion, your culture?
Nothing. We do our prayer, we work, we study, we live there. There's another country, Matskape.
So
It's another society.
Your culture
Another
is-
society, here is another society, there another, you have to pass to
Yeah.
to live.
Yeah. So you
along the
acculturated
rules of that.
Yes.
You
Okay.
adopt, but
You
it's
adopt
saying
it, yes.
that you do your things as a
Yeah.
Hindu. You
Yeah.
have your own prayers. You don't need to go to the
We
temple.
cook in them, we are Hindu. No, you have your cooking, you have a kitchen, no problem.
And you were vegetarian?
We are vegetarian, yeah. In Suriname, yeah.
And that was easy.
In
for
Holland,
you,
not, but when we come back, then we are not vegetarian.
Oh,
Not now, 40 years.
oh, okay.
There's no problem within yours. You are cooking itself. It's what you want, what you will, you can cook, no problem in Holland.
So were you very happy there? Or did you
It
hate
was very
it, or
nice.
did you- it was
Another
okay?
country, another society, it was very nice. For 8 years, 9 years. After that, come here, well again.
Well, again, yes. So when you came back and when did you meet your wife? Was that in Holland or was that before or back in Suriname?
No, we were married. When you go to Holland, we were married here.
Oh, okay. So you got married here.
That is very nice. When you are with both two, then it's very nice for Holland. When you are alone, then more problem.
Mhm. Why is there a problem?
Yeah,
you were
that's the
alone.
problem. With two, as better is another society, a difficult society, Holland. But in the period, in that
In
period.
that period?
Yes, but now we have so many Hindustanis there. No, not so more a problem or that.
Yeah. So how do you feel about Hindustanis, young Hindustanis, girl or boy, getting involved with non-Hindustanis in Holland? How do you feel about that? Taking them for marriage partners, bringing the non-Hindustanis into the family. How do you feel about that?
Now, you live there normally. You have also friends, not Hindustani friends. Hindustani friends, not Hindustani, you have to live there, etc. About the personal life, everyone take their own decision. You can't say anything.
Mhm. And
But,
when
but
Mhm.
I am a Hindu. I progress, I promote my Hindu life, my Hindu culture, my Hindu religion.
Mhm.
Not everything from 2,000, 3,000 years ago, but the time has changed now. That you have to pass on the situation now.
Mhm.
Something, not all things, but something things you have to change some things.
Mhm. What are some of the things that you feel in Hinduism, that is, what are some of the things that you feel need to change to become modern?
That is a different question. That's a different question.
Is
Give
there
one or
anything-
two examples.
Is there anything that you would want to change?
No, so many things can change.
Give us example. One or two.
That's a big problem. A big problem. Maybe you can not pass the rules of the Vedic times till now. No, we have in the Vedic period rules for living, ethic rules. But nowadays, and that was in India, we are in Western society, and India, Holland, or in Suriname, there's all the rules from Vedic times you can't pass, use now here in Suriname. You have to change some things,
Some of
And there's also, at first, all the scriptures are in Sanskrit. We know Sanskrit in Suriname. Who knows? Nobody ban. They want to, we know, nobody. But they have to read it and do the performances, the ceremonies. But not like in that period. You know?
Mhm.
And now I said you have a little bit here, etc., and then you do it. Right.
Mhm.
The Gurukul, to go study by a guru, 10 years, very nice way, the Vedangas, the subjects of Veda. No, nobody studies the subject of Veda, but they are Pandits. What means Pandit? Like what? But no, always are Pandit. Always are Pandit. That is changed now, but it must be a bit better, but that is it not. But we are living in another time, in a period, another rules. So this.
So do you feel the pundits today have the same degree of spirituality?
Oh, no. That's one to change. No, not more. Modern times is at first, don't mind, economic. Modern time at first, economic. Not only in religion, in culture, in sport. Look, World Football Conference. Politics, and how do you say? Problem. Corruption. Every place, every subject, corruption. That's a big problem. How to solve that?
Do you think Hinduism, or maybe even reference to the ancient Vedic teachings, do you think there are some answers there for this corruption issue?
Theory is one thing, practical sense another thing.
And it's very difficult to bring
Very
that
difficult,
theory
very
into practice.
difficult. When they are, let's say, in a high position, then they do God will help. What will God help you? If inside this bad, ask them, oh yeah, the 8 was only for the room, for that room. If you are outside, forget that. You know?
Mhm.
So just if I may ask a question, go back to your studies in Utrecht. Who were your professors you were
Oh,
impressed by?
Professor Gonda,
One of the
Professor
big-
Jan Gonda,
big
Professor.
great Jan Gonda.
Yeah, Gonda. Very beroemd professor. Very, and the whole world. They must publish more than 600 titles, books, etc. When I was born, he was professor in Utrecht.
So you knew him personally? He taught you?
Yes, he was my professor.
Yeah,
and
but
that's fine.
you studied Vedic with him or Sanskrit?
Yes,
Because Sanskrit-
Vedic,
Vedic.
and cultural history and Vedic. And there are others also, Mr. Tin Khodrian, Sanskrit, and then for Hindi, and another one for arts, and another one for history.
So did you know Mr. Paudat Soccer?
Shocker was also there,
Yeah.
but I don't have from him. He was in Leiden, no?
Leiden, yeah.
Yeah, Leiden. Shocker was Leiden. Professor after Gonda, professor in Leiden.
So you miss this kind of professors in Suriname, I suppose.
There is no, I'm only here, there's no one. That's why I have many books here, but Suriname is a isolated country. You can order books from here, etc. That I buy, which from Deutschland, from England, from India, has here, but no, I can't read. I'll go to the university, probably to Bharat Sanatan Dharam, to Arya Divakar, France, all the books.
You donated your book.
If I donate them, yes, because I can't read more, etc. And I'm also aged now. And there is no interest. The man will have the books, but will not pay for it. That is
They
a
will not
problem.
pay for it.
And there is no reading interest. Least culture, reading interest is not
Culture for
culture for reading.
No discussion on philosophy either.
Well, if there is a been meeting errors, there's a lecture deficit. After that, nothing more. That is a problem. And then also I visit also the mandirs, and the mandirs I give my lectures, and the mandirs now you meet once a week. And that
Once
only.
a week you give a lecture?
Yeah, mandir din so.
Mhm.
When he goes to the temple.
Mandir, no. Once a week. At each mandir, have once Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, you know.
Mhm.
Then to tell the people, the gathering people,
So you
the
said that
devotees.
you're teaching also now.
Yes, that is the Roman Catholic Center.
At the Roman Catholic.
Roman
Center.
Catholic, yes. And COFAP also here,
COFAP.
nursery, and UL,
Oh,
teachers.
really?
Teachers.
It's very active.
Yeah.
Very active.
What are you teaching at the Roman Catholic? Is it a school?
Hinduism.
You're teaching Hinduism to the
Hinduism.
Roman Catholics?
Hinduism, yes. the rules, the values, the ethics, etc., and thinking of the Hindu, how the Hindu are thinking, and so
How is it
why the
received?
Hindu is vegetarian, why the Hindu doesn't eat cow, etc. Does he have to tell the people about the subjects?
Okay, so you're educating the Roman Catholics about him.
Also, yes.
Are they very interested in what you are teaching?
Yes.
Yes?
And we have those discussions, different several subjects also.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about race,
You know about?
race differences.
Okay, every cultural king has his race and his culture and his ethics. We have Hindustanis, we have Muslims, we have Roman Catholic, etc.
Right,
We have
that's different religions.
we have Marons, we have Amerindians. They have their own culture, their own language, and they are living together like friends, no problem.
So when you go out to teach, how do people, for example, the Maroons or the Blacks, the Creoles, as you call them,
Yeah.
how do they receive what you are teaching?
No, very nice. Not interested.
No problem.
No problem.
Okay, very good. And you've never had any issues with anybody of a different race?
No.
while-
You have to interpret, you have to teach, you have to declare why, and they will understand. There's no problem.
Okay.
They can't understand. No, in Holland, they say the people in India are hungry. They don't eat cow. What an idea is that? Holland, they say India has hungry. They don't eat cow. Why? If you listen to the Hollanders, Dutch people, then India must eat cow also. There's a problem. It's an ethical system as taught, and we don't eat cow, etc. No. No. We ahimsa paramo dharma. Ahimsa means no killing, no dog, no chicken, no cow, no, only vegetarian, because that is the rule. That's the rule. But we know the general people are eating chicken, dog, etc.
Do you think that's something that is beneficial to society now? Or should all people in society return to vegetarianism?
No. That's their own decision. That's their own decision. If they like, they eat. If they don't like, no eat. But vegetarian is now in the whole world. Oh, so many white people are vegetarian. Okay, in Holland, in our United States, they are vegetarian now.
So what is the benefit of that?
No, it just influenced your life, your thinking.
How does it influence your thinking?
About what you input, so is the output. You know, what the input is, so is also the output.
So you will see it, and then you will it will prevent you from getting diseases and so on.
Yeah, yes, also. And also meditation is also a form of living. In the whole world, they have meditate overall.
Do you meditate?
We also,
Yes?
yes.
Can you teach us how to meditate?
Yeah, you have the guru. You need a guru for teaching.
How do you meditate?
Here in Suriname, we have maybe 2 or 3 and meditation groups.
How do you meditate? What do you do?
We meditate. We have a mantra, a formula, and in the name of God. You have to repeat. Maybe you know a rosekrans. You know
Rosary.
rosary. There's 108.
In Islam, it's
For
called
one time,
tasbih.
yes, that you can do that. But in Africa, they have little one, not 108, but maybe 50 or 60. Just meditate rosary, not only in India, in African countries.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
almost
African.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Precious.
So you are meditating on this mantra.
Mhm.
So you try to block everything else out of your mind while you are meditating.
That is for the mind, for the purification of your mind, and your eating your food is also for your thinking, for your thought, for your deeds. Because if you do karma, deed karma, then you have first to thinking, second to say, third to handle. You have 3 times karma. 3 phases. A is thinking,
What you think,
to
what
the
you
second,
say, and
to
what
say,
you do.
and then to do.
Yeah.
Second, the third one.
Yes.
They say this deed is right, is good, then you can do crime. You can not say a thief, to rob, etc. There is a big problem with robbers. How did it come? Teach the people.
So using the tenets of Indian philosophy or even Vedic philosophy, is there a difference? I don't think so. How would you, for example, somebody who is a criminal, who is in the jail, how would you use Indian philosophy to try to get him to change his thoughts so that he no longer goes out into public and says bad things?
Oh, that
or
is
do
a
bad
big problem. It's a big problem. It's a public problem. You see, since the beginning, you have thieves. Since the beginning, you have robbers. You have to live with all of them.
So
All
it's a
fingers,
choice.
all fingers are not the same.
Mhm.
Because you have to teach them. You can teach them, but if they won't change their life, what to do? What to do? You can say only. You can ask them. You can advise them, but to handle, how to handle is the rule.
So what would you tell somebody?
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a few minutes more of that interview, but we chose to pause it here because we have 15 minutes left in the program. What I wanted to do was to ask the only elder who is here with us, Imam Ikbal Heidel. I wanted to ask his thoughts about the last 2 interviews. There was a lot of information shared, both about, in terms of Mr. Ramin Sarjoe, his private life, his personal life, his political life. And then there was a lot from Mr. Narad Gangaram Pandi that we had on religion, philosophy, spirituality, etc., as well as social ills. And those are, Suriname's society is different from Trinidad's. So I want to get the thoughts of Mr. Heidel on those 2 interviews. Mr. Heidel, please. Unmute. Can you unmute your mic? And ladies and gentlemen, after Imam Heidel speaks, I'll ask members of the audience, if those of you who are here would like to comment, please indicate by raising your hand. Go ahead, please, Imam Heidel.
Okay. What I've heard tells us a lot about ethics, morality. There are thoughts about spirituality, but I'm not too clear as to how you achieve that. Because I don't feel meditation gives you spirituality. Spirituality is, in fact, something that you have to acquire by, in terms of not just simply mantras or by recitation of Arabic, but by a consciousness of the cosmos, by a consciousness of a greater creator. And there's where I have that problem. That is what I feel spirituality is all about. When you can contact or when you can make some kind of reasoning as to why we were created why do we exist and why the world exists. Ethics, morality within culture is man-made. We form our ethics, whether we are Muslims or Hindus or Christians, according to the philosophy that we learn. But when it comes to spirituality, it is a question of the self making contact with something which is unknown, but which guides your life and gives you purpose in life. I don't know if that answers your question.
I did not have a specific answer in mind. Whatever you provide for us, we really appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ramnaresh Dwarka, your hand is up. Please go ahead. You'll have to unmute.
Yes, I must say that I was inspired by Mr. Sarjoe, a politician in this day and age who could still go back to principles that guide policy, and that you could sit with the opposition and arrive at consensus, where in our opposition politics here, it's like we are enemies. I wanted to make that observation. I wish leaders would take a cue from that. And I wondered while Mr. Pandi was speaking, why is it, we had more Indians coming to Trinidad. About the same time they went to Suriname, and they have managed to retain their language. Language is an integral part of anyone's culture. We have the bhojan, and we have the bhesh, the clothes and the food, but we have lost the language. And it would be interesting to find out how they manage, or is their language on the decline, just like it happened in Trinidad, and that maybe they need to look at that. And as about meditation, I had the good fortune of, I practice meditation. I've been practicing meditation since 1992. I taught it actually for the Art of Living Foundation. And there's a close relationship. I agree with Ikbal, Mr. Heidel, that meditation in itself will not lead you to spirituality. Spirituality is much more than that. Meditation is only one of the tools that one can use to connect with the inner self, to become more aware of the mind. But you have to adopt a certain lifestyle that is informed by your religion, your good books, your prophets, and so on, and live that life to experience what is spiritual. Those would be my comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Dwarka. Rehana, Sharmila, Ramartan, Dr. Shardanan, all of you are here. I want to get Sharmila. Okay, I see your hand raised. Would you like to respond to Mr. Dwarka about his question regarding why Hindustanis have been able to retain their language, whereas we have not?
Yes, am I unmute?
Yes,
Can
you're
you hear me?
audible. Yes, you're
Yes,
audible.
yes, good. Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm a writer, Hindi writer, and one thing I have studied the Hindi language. So one of the reason is that in previous times there were contracts were made and that was written in English. So the people, the laborers, they will also they could not read and write the English, so they became the victims of those things. So then the people, they decide to just leave the language and just adapt the English language. So because they wanted their children to learn the English so that they could understand all what is written and they had to sign and so that is one reason that the language was left behind in Trinidad and Guyana. And we have kept the language, Hindi language, because we have like a tradition that is the farmais, we call that farmais. Through radio station, we gave songs for each other. on any occasion. When it was Diwali, then we had Diwali songs. In previous times, we had that. And during the weddings, we had wedding songs for each other. On birthday, we had songs for each other. So that was the reason till today now that is unique in Suriname. And because of that, we give songs for each other because we understand the words. So that kept our language also alive. So that is unique. So I want to tell everyone, please, for the youth especially, learn them songs. Let them learn one song because one song have about 20 words, Hindi words. So they can pick up one word. So you fill the ocean whereby drops. So please start with the songs because that they are interested in that. I
Yeah.
think. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharmila. Rahana, yes? Can you unmute, please? Yes.
Can you
You're on.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Sharmila.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Oh,
Sorry, Rahana, would you mind unmuting again, please? Sorry.
okay. Okay.
Yes.
I say, when the Hindustani people came to Suriname, they could keep their language. They could keep their language, and after 5 years of work, at they got their own place, and they started their schools, and they didn't marry the Creoles. They didn't marry the Creoles. They only married between Hindustani. So I know, I don't know if you know the film One People, because there was a film One People in which a young girl, I don't know her name now. Shamila, do you know her name? The girl who played in One People, was it a Gangaram Pandi or so? Huh?
Sorry, Sharmila, you muted again.
One People is a film which shows us that a marriage between a Creole and a Hindustani girl is not possible. Is possible. Who wanted to show us that we could mingle, but at that time, even then, it was not allowed. So the Hindustani people, they would not marry Creoles, and I think when in Trinidad it was different, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's
so.
why realizing started earlier in Trinidad, and in Suriname we kept our own culture, and we maintained also. And nowadays, if you go to Suriname, it's still the same. Yeah, it slightly changed, but yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies.
That's the main reason.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, so the Gladstone experiment started in the Caribbean in 1834. 1838 is when immigrants started to really come into Guyana. 1845 is when Indian indentured immigrants started to come to Trinidad. But for you all in Suriname, it started in 1858, much later. And so your period of indenture actually went from 1858 to 1916. Indentureship ended in 1917 and officially stopped in 1920 after everyone had completed their contract. So there were no more immigrants coming in for you all after 1916. So the period was shorter. Secondly, you all were a Dutch colony. So the Dutch allowed for indentured immigrants to come in under different conditions than the English did for us in Trinidad and in Guyana. So those two factors also contributed. We had a shorter period. So of the 35,000 indentured immigrants who came into Suriname, you all really have done very, very well in retaining the language. Yes, Imam Heidel.
In a stable place, you may cut your hand.
I think in Trinidad,
Yes,
in Trinidad, because we have been under such great colonial rule, particularly the British. in order to have upward mobility in our society, even the Indians had to speak English, had to learn English, and therefore the Hindi and the Urdu went on the wayside. But it was purely because of upward mobility, because we were so much dominated by the English culture. That's my contribution.
Thank you. MK, you wanted to say something. Chand as well. I think you had two questions for Imam Heidel.
No, I was just going to say that this is a fascinating discussion to see how culture, tradition, and identity were maintained in the Caribbean. We in Africa had a different experience. I think there the British compartmentalization was much more rigid, whereas yours, I think, was much more fluid. But it's interesting for me to see that comparative dimension. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MK. And it's nice to see that your eyes are good.
Sorry, I look a bit like a Martian, but I've been asked to keep these on by my surgeon. So, Alhamdulillah, I'm feeling much better. Thank you.
Very nice. Good. Chand, welcome. Go ahead, please.
The first question was the role of the woman that Mr. Heidel mentioned in his upbringing. My question was, would she be someone classified as a midwife?
Okay. So what Chand wants to know is whether or not the person you referred to as Pope was she a midwife or what was her role?
Well, actually, my mother in particular used to invite people. We go out and we look for people who were poor and try to bring them in to help because the family was big, 9. She was not paid. She became part of the family, and therefore she was a maid really. Used to do the cooking and so on, but had her own room and her own privacy, everything. But grew up with us. So I grew up with her. In fact, many of my family used to say I was really poop child.
Chand, you had another question as
well? Can I say something about the Hindi language in Fiji?
Sure.
The situation in Fiji, even though the immigrants went in 1879 and it finished off in 1916, officially 1917, 1st January, but the school that I started with, it was built in 1918, which was just a year after, and that was the school actually was started by a group of people from the village, and most Fiji schools are committee run. So we had all these schools, the Indian schools, the Muslim schools, the Tamil schools, and Telugu schools, and they were all teaching their language. So I don't know what the situation was in the other Gurmit diaspora countries, because we were very fortunate in that way. And even today, they have the Hindi and the Fijian language going right up to the last year of high school.
Thank you very much. So Subhash, Subhash, did you want to say something? I think, okay, Subhash.
He dropped off.
No, he has 2 devices on, I think. One,
Okay.
we're not seeing his video. Okay, but I think Dr. Shardanand also was trying to say something. Dr. Shardanand, are you audible?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay,
now.
thank you. My video is not too bad. So I heard, Mr. My dear friend Ramin Sarjoe, he is a marvelous person, and he was the left hand, or maybe the right hand, of the VHP leader Jagannath Rajman. And because of this person, Ramin Sarjoe, Suriname became a united nation, united in diversity. The Hindustani especially they had the chance because of the politic support of this party. Hindustanis got the chance and take the benefits of this to conserve their culture, their language, their bhesha, bhojan, etc., as Mr. Sarjoe. So I'm very happy that he had done this for years. And I was, I think, in 1999 to 2000, I was there in Suriname, helping this party to become a great party. And Ramin Sarjoe do know, he knows very well of this. And I have learned this. He is a very honest man. He knows very well what to do. And today he is 89 years old. I am 80 years. And I do know him as a teacher. When I was on the teacher training college, he was teaching in Sanatan Dharam Milo's school. And I wondered him. I wanted to become like him, but I didn't have the success just like he. But still, Ramin Sarjoe ji, bahut dhanbad. Very, very thanks to you. And may God bless you. Have a very, very long time. And the next year, in May 2025, you have a lot to do in Suriname to keep the democracy where we have fight for. And you know, according to the Hindi, we are calling Sarnami or Sarnami Hindi. That is because of Suriname was not an English colony. It was a Dutch colony. So that was not necessary it was not, they has to learn their own language, because when they wanted to remigrate, go to home back, what could they do with Dutch?
Right.
So the only way to stay in Suriname and when returning back to home was to conserve the Bhojpuri, mostly the Bhojpuri. And but besides of this, the treaty of 1871 between the British Kingdom and the Dutch Kingdom was, take my people from Bharat, go to Suriname, Dutch colony, but be careful, let them keep their own language, their tongue, and culture. So that is a different, and the different is very important, because in the French colonies the same treaty was going on, but in the French colonies they cannot speak the Hindi just like in Suriname, you know. And so you can talk a lot about this. I've studied this, and I'm very grateful that I am one of the sons of these Girmitias, and I'm living now in Holland for a long time. But you know, Suriname and Bharat, I'm not living there. I'm living in Holland. But both countries are living in my. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate it. Good morning, Subhash.
Yes. Yes, good morning to all of you. The presentations were extremely enlightening. And as usual, you know, the quality and the depth of sharing of knowledge and experience is just amazing. It continues to baffle me and wow me. All right, having said that, I think the issue of retention of language, the Hindi language, it goes back to the conditions of existence of the Girmitia, the dire straits in which the early Girmitias existed. Ours started in 1879, a bit later than all of you. The books provided hope and succor, okay? They had to go back to the books, and these books were written in Hindi. Even though it was Sanskrit Hindi at that time, they were still Hindi. That's one factor. that kept us close. So the religious variable in the middle, the language and the religious books and religion itself and the people. Okay, so there's this connection. Now, number two, the education system always had Hindi running parallel with the other curriculum, the mainstream curriculum. Hindi was running through. We had recitations I'm a 1970s student. We had recitations in Hindi, the whole works. Thirdly, there was absolutely no encouragement to marry across ethnic divides. No encouragement. Actually, there was discouragement. We have a recorded case of a guy who was jailed for having run off with a native girl. Okay, there was a news report that was cited in one of the writings by one of my colleagues here. Then on top of that, the main source of entertainment a little bit later was the Ram Leela and festivals. These were all very hugely steeped in the use of the Hindi language, religious and Hindu and Hindi, all sort of morphing into one. Then you take it a step further, and we have movies from India. Okay, so we understand that Hindi, and it helps reinforce our Hindi. I was a bit of a broken Hindi, but still, I mean, अगर मैं बोलूंगा हिंदी में तो आप समझ जाओगे. Okay, हम लोग यहाँ ऐसे बात करता है हिंदी में. You see what I mean? So there is this, there's this Shuddh Hindi, and then on the side it's a Fiji Hindi, but it's still understandable. I've had some friends from Guyana who were working with me at this university. We understood each other pretty good, but we always laughed at each other whenever we spoke. So there are these factors, and then on top of that, geographically sharing space was not encouraged at all. The ethnic Fijians stayed in their villages. We were kept away, separated from. So we had Indian settlements and Fijian villages separate, and so we kept on speaking and living in our own way. So the Hindi language kept living. Now, all these factors that I've outlined have now undergone drastic change. So, what I'm just sounding the warning that there will definitely be a transition where much of the Hindi language will weaken. But then, of course, the Bollywood connection will remain. So we'll all be like hugely impressed and wowed by the movies, and Akshay will remain the hero around the place, and so on and so forth. But thank you. That's my.
Thank you very much. But I have to tell you, I am very worried because when I look at a Bollywood movie now, I'm seeing too much English. I'm hearing too much English. I'm seeing too much Western behavior. I'm seeing, and Imam Heidel, I see you agreeing with me. There's too much West in there. I don't even feel like it's Bollywood anymore. You can't even identify the food now. You go there, you get vada pav. What is that? We call it hops bread in Trinidad. It's too much. So I want to thank you very much for sharing that. Chand is sharing, most importantly, Hindu was taught in schools. Yeah, but that isn't happening now. And years ago, I was trying to get a conversation going as to why Hindi is being taught here by the Mahatma Gandhi Institute. Why not Urdu? Arabic is being taught at the University of the West Indies. Urdu is the tongue that came from India. It has been lost. We can't even find Urdu speakers now. We can have some songs being sung in Urdu by people who know it, but as well, that is diminishing. So what are we going to do about that? We are going to discuss it another time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here with us. It's been an extremely enjoyable afternoon. I want to thank our three esteemed speakers. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your life story with us. This is what makes the Elders program very important to us. Thank you so much. So at this point, I'll turn you all over to Shakira.
Thank you, Shalama. And we want to thank everyone for taking the time to attend and to participate. And as we've said earlier, this public meeting is being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center. And our topic next Sunday will be Mahatma Gandhi, a champion of human rights. So we want to thank the advisory and planning team led by Dr. Kumar Mahabir. Please visit, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all our past recordings. I am Shakira Mohammed from Trinidad and Tobago saying goodbye. May God bless you all. Dhanyavad.